Good evening, I'm Ces Oreña-Drilon.
I'm Pauline Verzosa.
And I'm Shawn Yao.
The big stories tonight. President Donald Trump has announced his long-awaited reciprocal tariffs on U.S. trade partners, including the Philippines. Starting April 9, Philippine exports to the United States will now pay 17% tariff, still lower than most countries in Southeast Asia. We'll discuss its impact not just on the Philippines, but on global economies later on in the program.
And it seems that scammers continue to find ways to evade the SIM registration law. A report shows that scam calls are making a comeback, prompting the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center to sound the alarm. We'll sit down with the CICC to talk about the red flags of these scam calls.
And tonight on sustainability, we will be taking a look at how a father-daughter duo helped to prevent trash from ending up in our landfills. We will be speaking to the people behind Berdeng Calabao later on.
I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. We will supercharge our domestic industrial base. We will pry open foreign markets and break down foreign trade barriers. My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day.
U.S. President Donald Trump is making good on his campaign pledge to put the heat on trade partners, friend or foe alike, to lower their very own barriers. In what he called Liberation Day, Trump announced sweeping reciprocal tariffs on April 2, covering about 60 countries, including the Philippines. The new steeper levies are a bid to boost U.S. manufacturing and get back at other nations for what Trump called were years of unfair trade practices.
Now, it's not yet clear how long the adjusted tariffs will be in force, but it is also seen to help America narrow its trade imbalance of about $1.2 trillion. What is certain is the recalculated levels will kick in on April 9th, and the baseline tariff of 10% will be implemented on April 5.
And among the countries bearing the brunt of Trump's reciprocal tariffs are Cambodia with 49%, Madagascar with 47%, Sri Lanka 44%, and Vietnam with export duties of 46%. The Philippines has been slapped with a 17% tariff rate, but most economists believe that the country is less vulnerable to the adjustments compared to others on Trump's list.
Now let's have an expert weigh in on this and talk about implications. We have with us financial strategist and economist Jonathan Ravelas joining us via Zoom. Welcome to the Big Story. First question, the bad news first and then the good news of the impact of this 17%.
All right. Good evening, ladies. So I think the first thing, it's really tarifying day to day. So I think the key impact to the Philippines is really more of really we're going to be affected by secondary effects of the tariff, which is basically inflation and currency volatility. The good news is that because we're mostly domestic, so we're a domestic economy, so in terms of our exports, it's not as bad compared to what the other countries had. No, I think the only problem that we have is that we import so much food and other things. So that's where we eventually get the impact of the potential rise in inflation and currency volatility.
Do you see a push for the depreciation of the peso to help, well, some of our exporters in electronics and also processed agricultural goods?
Okay, if we actually try to look at the impact of a 1 peso depreciation to inflation, it's quite minimal. No, it's around 0.04%, thereabout. So it's not really that bad. It's just that the key question really is more of the potential volatility as a competitiveness against other countries. So as long as we're probably within a range of maybe 58, 58.50, we can still remain competitive. No, slight adjustment that will more or less be the impact of that 17%. Then I think that is tolerable in terms of the depreciation of the peso.
So there are some who point out that the silver lining may be our ASEAN neighbors who have been slapped very high tariffs may use the Philippines as a jump-off point for some of their exports. Is that a possibility?
To a certain extent, during the time of Duterte, we've seen that, no? We've seen a little bit of those China, sending
Right.
products here and then shipping it out. That could be a possibility. Or at the same time, it can actually boost the Philippines as an alternate uh, site for these companies to set up because the tariff is quite low.
Okay, but for the government to downplay it, is that fair to say na talagang maliit lang yung magiging impact? Because we're only looking at, of course, the first line impact, which as I think we can all agree, it won't be that bad, but it's the catching a cold from like a global slump of sorts.
Okay, let's put it this way. Our economy is 70% consumption driven. So, what is important is to be able to stabilize the importation. So, again, we need to be able to start looking in as a country. Tama yung gobyerno in saying that, hey, it's not going to be as bad because uh, the export that we sell to the US is electronics, which are part of a bigger product pa. So it's not going to be as that severe. Remember that other sources of our income are OFWs, and basically you have the BPOs, no? Which are still giving around $60 billion a year. But with that said, we need to be able to also look into the potential effects of this inflation. Maybe other countries will also have reciprocal tariffs and they'll try to protect their own economies, no? Instead of further exporting out, they want to make sure that the food services are there. So we need to build the supply chain.
Jonathan, do you think we're in the position to slap reciprocal tariffs as well on the U.S. right now?
No.
It's not
So
good. It won't
I,
be good.
I, I think what we need to be able to do is really try to anticipate what the potential effect of the secondary tariffs. So at the moment, if you recall, during the time of President Duterte from 2017 to around 2018, in the first 2 years, we slowly felt the impact of the weakening peso and eventually the rising inflation that we saw a peak of 6.8 in 2018 that eventually created a top on the Philippine stock market. So this time, we're still licking our wounds from the inflationary pressure coming out of the pandemic and what we saw in the last year. So we need to be able to manage this currency volatility and inflation well.
Okay, before we go to opportunities, Jonas, I just wanted to get your opinion on this. Some economists and analysts are saying, this Liberation Day tariff rates might not actually last forever once Trump realizes that, it will have a big effect, ripple effect. What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, you see the problem. We're thinking very literal. If you remember the time of President Duterte, we analyze and we wait overnight just to listen to what he'll say. This is very similar to what Trump is doing. So, if you recall, Trump wrote a book, The Art of Deal. So, this situation is really trying to create that near-term uncertainty to get what he wants. And what does he want? He wants to make sure that he's able to fund his government expenditure at a cheaper price. So when he got elected, the 10-year US Treasuries was around 4.5%. After the announcement of the tariff last night, eventually 10-year yields fell to 4%. And what he wants is that when people get scared, they run to government securities. So he's able to pre-fund or refinance his government spending at a cheaper interest rate. So that's what's in his mind. But for us, the speculators and those that are affected, were worried if the impact of this thing will create a recession. And that's what we're feeling today.
Well, Jonathan, you also have Asian countries like South Korea, China, and Japan already agreeing to promote regional trade. I mean, should we also be joining those discussions?
Definitely. I think this has always been there when we started talking about in early 2000, the ASEAN Economic Community. This was just after the Asian financial crisis. So probably thanks to this disruption, this would actually further enhance ASEAN economic cooperation that has been, put on the sideline with so many issues.
Right, and we should also focus on growing our own food, and so that the imports will go down. But thank you so much for your insights, Jonathan Rabelas, once again, for joining the Big Story. In other news, Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa wants a subpoena for President Marcos's cabinet members who were a no-show at the Senate. There were lots of empty seats during the second hearing of the Committee on Foreign Relations, headed by Senator Amy Marcos. Only 3 resource persons attended the inquiry, which is tackling former President Duterte's ICC arrest. In a letter to Ms. Marcos and Senate President Chis Escudero, on March 31st, Executive Secretary Lucas Bersamin said cabinet officials have already provided enough information to the panel, but for Senator Bato, the President's men's absence is plainly unacceptable.
Wala na respetuhan ito sa isang kapwa ko equal branch of government. So, Madam Chair, I would like to move that we issue a subpoena to these government officials to require their presence in the next hearing.
Malacanang is leaving it up to the Senate if it wants to issue a subpoena for cabinet officials. For his part, Executive Secretary Bersamin once again invoked executive privilege in the decision to skip the hearing.
Yung invitation ni Senator Amy was quite specific about the topics. We determined that there are many probable or likely topics na covered by those matters that would come under yung executive privilege. Our cabinet secretaries and other executive officers would be not forced to respond to questions concerning those matters.
Meanwhile, over in The Hague, supporters of former President Rodrigo Duterte continue their watch outside the detention center. They even wrote their messages for the former president in birthday cards. Though it's now way past his birthday, the supporters still hope to relay to him their hope that he will be freed and returned to the Philippines.
Para meron po siyang mababasa lagi. Diba? Masaya naman siya kahit sa pamagitan ng card, mababasa naman niya at malalaman niya ang buong suporta namin. Para po sa card man lang, maipadaan namin ang aming malaking support, buong pusong suporta at buong pusong pagmamahal sa kanya.
Meanwhile, Attorney Harry Roque, who admits he's hoping the former president could reconsider him as part of the legal team, he raised that interim release might not be an option for Duterte given the gravity of the case against him. But the former presidential spokesman also maintains that the crimes against humanity charge should be dismissed.
I want to temper people's expectations kasi wala pang pinawawala na ICC na accused diretso ng crimes against humanity or war crimes. Ang napawalan pa lang nila na bigyan ng provisional liberty ay yung mga accused of offenses relating to administration of justice.
And just as this is happening, Hungary says it is withdrawing as well from the ICC shortly after Israeli leader Benjamin Netanyahu came for a state visit. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban said this after announcing early on that it is time to review what Hungary is doing in an international organization that is under U.S. sanctions. Hungary is a founding member of the ICC and so in theory is obligated to turn over any personality who has a warrant of arrest from the said court.
Time to pause for our first quick break, but right after that, authorities are warning the public against scam calls, which according to a report, is on the rise. How do we protect ourselves from this? We'll be discussing that with the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center next.
You're watching The Big Story here on One News. The Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center, or CICC, sounded the alarm on the rising number of scam phone calls. In a report by anti-scam app, Who's Call? While text scams remain a top problem, the number of cases recorded during the first quarter of 2025 is now considerably lower, at around 648,000 compared to the 1.14 million scam messages recorded during the same period last year. Scam calls, on the other hand, rose by more than 200% from 108,157 during the first quarter of 2024 to more than 351,000 during the same period this year. So now let's go to the details of this story with Undersecretary Alexander Ramos. He's the Executive Director of the Cybercrime Investigation and Coordinating Center, or the CICC. Good evening and welcome to The Big Story, Yusek. First of all,
hi, good evening, Seth.
To what do you attribute the rise in scam calls?
Actually, it's a shift, no? Most of the time, we receive scam text messaging. Now that we are able to curb the rise of messaging system, the use of the messaging system, the scammers have to devise a way to find new targets by going audio. So the method right now, or the MO, the modus operandi, is hard calls being done by the scammers using voice calls, either directly from the cell phone or from the social media platforms. So it's just a shift, but the dramatic decrease in the text scam is something that very notable.
Yuseko, what is the nature of these scam calls? Are they through the regular network calls or is it through social media? Kasi meron naman po tayong SIM registration law. So can't these numbers be traced?
Well, as far if they will use the regular cell phone calls, okay, they can be traced, no? Of course, the challenge here, even if it's prepaid, the receiver of the call will not be able to see the name of the person calling. All they will see is numbers, no? That's why most of the calls are being done using the social media platforms where voice calls are also allowed, and they can hide behind the masking their identity in the social media platforms.
And did it prove, Yusek, na mas successful yung mga scammers by using phone calls instead of messages or text messages?
Well, not necessarily, because based on the reports that we have been receiving, some of the complainants or informants that we have, they say that most of the callers that they are receiving have a foreign tone. So there's a big language gap there. That's why if you would look at the figures, it's lower than the number of the text scams that we had been receiving prior to this. So there is a communication disconnect there. But for those successful, sometimes they misrepresent themselves as bank representatives. That's where the bulk of the complaints now, wherein the dialogue or the script being mentioned during these voice calls are those patterned after actual bank scripts. So the idea is to be able to convince the receiver of the call to give up the code or the OTP for them to gain access to your bank accounts.
Okay, so what advice would you give to our kababayans para hindi po sila mabiktima? It's strange that out of the blue, someone's calling you on your Facebook Messenger or Viber. Hindi ho ba dapat the wise thing to do is do not answer calls you don't recognize?
Precisely. In fact, the funny part, if they will say this X bank and you don't even have an account in that bank, no need to entertain. They might as well just drop the call immediately. Never entertain unsolicited calls, especially from banks, because banks don't do this. Because if you have a problem in your account, you're being asked to go to your nearest account officer in the bank premises itself. They don't do actual hard calls or text messaging asking for personal details.
That's right. Actually, if you think about it, normally you're the one, as the client, you're the one calling the hotline. The bank won't even know that there's something wrong. But I wanted to ask if we've found some sort of source. Are these like small-time fraudsters just trying to make a quick buck? Or could this be like a larger, more organized, kind of like syndicated thing?
As far as we're concerned, it's still organized crime because of the consistency and the volume that we see in particular areas. Some of the callers, we try to come up with the demographics, and you would see that there's a targeted area. So it would sound like it's a very organized crime.
Well, Yusek, please tell us about this app that you're developing to verify the legitimacy of photos or videos on social media.
One of our private partners, Who's Call, is offering a free use of their how would you say cyber online platform to protect the user using cell phones. You see, they have upgraded the capability to detect fake or reportedly scam numbers or websites or messages as the scripts based on the database that they receive. So they are offering this for free for all users of the Who's Call application.
Okay, and I guess last question from me, Yusek. I was just wondering because we spoke to the ICT ASEC Aboy Paraiso last week. I asked him his position about amendments to the SIM registration law. Do you think we could further improve on this existing law to just help curb this? Because yun nga, na-drop dun sa original plan, no? Yung pagre-register or needing a registered SIM card to open a social media account, which is being done in the West.
Yeah, definitely. We saw several gaps that needs to be improved, no? Such as the number of prepaid numbers that one person can register. That's one big factor. The second one, of course, when they use the OTP, it has to be changed already as a method for real-time authentication. There has to be an improvement on this. And there are other measures that we're looking into, such as the access to this information if it is stolen or stolen identity or not. Because there are a lot of fake or stolen identity in the area.
All right, we thank you so much for your time, Yusek Alexander Ramos of the CICC.
Time to pause for another quick breather, but right after that, did you know that we Filipinos produce more than 60,000 tons of garbage per day? Later, we will be talking to a father-daughter tandem whose mission is to help lessen this trash that end up in our landfills. Keep it here.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us here on The Big Story. When we think sustainability, we often focus on solutions like renewable energy and even tech innovations. But one crucial aspect that is often overlooked is waste. While easy to dismiss, waste has a significant impact on our environment and our future. Here we highlight initiatives that drive us toward a greener, more sustainable future, one story at a time. Welcome to Sustainability. What if we told you that waste, when properly managed, doesn't have to end up in landfills? Tonight, we're joined by a father and daughter tandem with over 40 years of experience in waste management. They've taken their expertise further through an initiative focused on sustainable waste. We have Donnie Coronado, founder and director, and his daughter Nadine Coronado, head of partnerships and programs from lovely name, Berdeng Calabao. Welcome to the Big Story.
Good evening, everyone.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, how long has Berdeng Calabao been in operation, and what inspired you to do this?
Okay. Well, the story is, it started 40 years ago with Coronado Waste Management. So we were just a regular waste management company which, you know, collects waste and brings it to the dump site. That was when the garbage crisis back in 2000 happened in Manila. And then RA 9003 was introduced to the Philippines.
The Waste Management Act.
Yes, Waste Management Act was introduced. This was the time when we evolved and you know, started thinking of ways to reduce the waste that we bring to the landfill. So we started out with a usual composting. We had built a facility for composting kitchen waste or food waste, and then we turned them to compost. Then, you know, from there on, we started to do projects with other communities that would reduce the recycled waste out of the residual waste. No? So we set up trucks around the villages and collect recyclable waste.
So second generation ka na, and Nadine
Yes.
is third generation.
Yeah.
So what do you do in the company?
Yes, so with Berdeng Calabao, we decided to extend our sustainable arm by naming it Berdeng Calabao. Berde because we're in the green sector, the environmental sector, and Calabao because it's the pambansang. We are mga masisipag kami. We're there to collect and sort on the ground, and we really are there to connect with the people who bring the recyclables to us. So in 2023, we named it Berdeng Calabao, and what we do is we focus solely on the recyclables that we get from the communities, residential and commercial establishments. And yeah, so
Your
what I do-
clients,
Yes,
kumbaga,
our clients, yeah.
because of the 20-year experience
Yes,
in
correct,
collecting. So
correct,
these are
correct.
villages, companies.
Institutions, commercial establishments,
Like malls,
schools.
I guess.
Yeah, malls,
Yeah, that would have a lot of garbage.
Office buildings and condominiums and that, yeah.
You brought some of the
And-
products or
yeah,
samples of
samples.
what you can make out of what we throw away.
Yes, yes. These
Are
are...
we getting ahead of the story? Baka,
Oo, medyo. I
Medyo?
think.
Yeah.
Kasi may tatanong pa ako.
Okay.
Hindi,
bago
na-curious
yung produkto.
Okay.
because I was wondering how you empower the communities, di ba? I mean, some groups would charge for the garbage that they collect para ma-incentivize yung mga tao. But if you're working with like mga malls, how do you incentivize them to, you know, do the separation and paghihiwalay nung nabubulok, di nabubulok? Or do you guys do
Or do
that
they
as well?
even do
Oo
they
nga,
do
do
that
they really
at
do
all?
it?
Yes, yes, yes.
Ah, they do?
Yeah, with our clients, no, we really teach them. No, part of the waste collection and segregation is education. So Nadine here teaches all of our clients and or partners before we get into programs. It's part of it. So we really have to practice the segregation. No? So really, we put out trucks, different dates, different times. No, we don't mix waste in one truck. So plus, so there's a schedule for everything.
That's so important, not mixing the waste in
Yes.
one truck.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel na maybe the garbage collector is mixing the waste. I don't know if this is...
Nagtsaga kang
Oo, nagtsaga.
maghiwalay, tapos hinalo
Yeah,
din
tapos
pa.
pag nakita mo kino-collect, shoo!
Exactly. Is that still a big challenge for you as well? I mean, what are some of the challenges that you still encounter nowadays?
Yeah, well, one, segregation really, or the practice of segregating waste is really challenging. No, it's complex. So, you know, you have different kinds of waste, and you know, some house helps would rather not do it and just put it in one bin. No, but again, important yung education. Yeah, but yeah, we set the program, we follow through, we give them additional educational flyers, so they can be reminded of what the program is.
Okay, but there are communities or not covered by
Yes.
your collection
Yes.
efforts. So, merong areas where you can collect, where people
Yes.
can go.
Yes.
Uh-uh.
We have
Where are
drop-off
these?
points.
So our drop-off points, so every Saturday, we're located in Salcedo Saturday Market.
Oh, okay.
So we're there from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then on the weekdays, so from Monday to Friday, our MRF in Makati is open. It's in Guadalupe Viejo. So from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Materials recovery
Recovery facility, yes. So the
Yes.
MRF stands for
MRF,
Materials
okay.
Recovery
Recovery
Facility.
Where?
In Guadalupe Viejo, Makati. So it's along Coronado Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how the name?
Coronado Street, named after
Any locations in the north? Because parang all these are in the Makati.
Yes. So actually at the moment, yeah, we're trying to still develop and see where we can locate ourselves in the north and south and actually all over. But yeah, at the moment, people send couriers. We've had people all the way from Baguio and Benguet drive all the way down just to go to our MRF and
Yes.
drop off their plastic, paper, metal. Yes.
Yes.
And how do we, if we're interested in dropping off,
Yes.
in what form should we, hugasan ba, babanlawan ba?
Yes.
At saka ano ba muna yung tinatanggap?
Yes,
nyo?
yes.
Oo, baka lahat
So we have to clarify what we
Yes,
accept.
yes, what we accept.
We accept recyclable items.
Okay.
Meaning
These are plastics,
paper,
paper, metal,
And e-waste.
e-waste, electronic
Okay.
waste. So, yeah.
Mga old devices, batteries.
Devices, old
Yeah.
computers.
So should they be in good, clean condition, as
Yes.
what Shawn was
Yeah.
asking?
Our
Yeah.
requirements are empty, clean, and dry. As long as all of these plastic, metal, paper, and e-waste are empty, clean, and dry, we will accept it and we will do all the recycling and upcycling for you.
But you don't buy them, let's make it clear. You don't pay them to bring.
We
You buy them?
We have different programs for
Okay.
different communities.
Yes.
Oh, sige, sige.
Some of the communities would ask us to just get donations for them, and then the benefit will go to the community, and then the community will have a program for the all the residents.
Kasi nakaka-worry rin, yung mga manggagarapon, sometimes they look forward to getting your plastic sticks also, di ba?
Meron pa ba nun?
Meron pa.
Meron pa naman po.
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So kawawa naman sila.
Yeah.
But should we go to the exciting part?
Sige.
Okay.
Yeah. These are products made from the waste that you collect.
Yes.
Sige.
Yes.
Maybe you
Nadine,
can
Yes,
pick
so-
of one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay,
over
sorry.
here we have our eco boards made entirely out of single-use plastic or flexible plastic. So to give you some examples, sando bags, sachets, parcel bags, so from online shopping, everything that you see in here is made 100% entirely of that. So these things are alternatives to plywood and hardy flex or lightweight
You can make a
construction material.
house out of this.
Yes,
Yes.
definitely. So people use it for furniture, flooring, walling.
Yeah.
And you already have a manufacturer that
Yes,
collects the plastic from you.
Yes. And then we have a design team that does the designing or
Yeah, I love it
the
because I can
manufacturing.
still see some of the
Yes.
pieces of
Yes.
the
Yeah, I
If
kinda
you look
love it.
closely, you can see
It's
the
cute.
Yes.
nutritional facts of some of
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Talaga ba?
So you're like,
Yes.
610
Yes.
calories.
Yes.
Oh no!
Exactly.
Pwede mong basahin yung sahig mo.
So if some people don't want to see the nutritional facts, these things, you can still paint over them.
Paint over it, coat it with clear coat. So these are waterproof and
They're
fire
weatherproof.
resistant.
Yeah.
Would there be a difference between those and these? Because I know you guys can't touch it, but let me tell you that this has a bit more texture and this is like a lot smoother. And also it's not as colorful.
Shiny.
Yeah.
And this is actually a Jenga inspired
Yes.
I got it
A little
from
board
here.
game over here, yeah.
Product,
So
yeah.
that one you're holding right now is actually made entirely of used beverage cartons. So milk cartons, juice boxes, broth boxes.
Or yung
That
mga,
explains the color.
when you go to the
Yes.
supermarket,
Yes.
yung mga karton doon, pwede?
That's
Hindi.
corrugated.
That's
Ay,
corrugated,
Yes.
yeah.
We
That would
still
be
collect
recycled.
that.
Yeah,
we still collect that. But for these boards, we have the plastic one like you're holding, and we also have the ones made out of used beverage cartons.
That's why they look
which
like
explains
this.
the color and the
Yes.
shine.
This
Yes.
does look like the inside of
Yes,
the milk
exactly,
box.
yeah.
Because they're multi-layered
Layered.
from carton and the inside is aluminum foil.
Why do people drive all the way from Baguio to bring? I mean,
That's a great
Yeah.
kind of
question.
hindi
We had-
sustainable kasi yung transpo.
Well,
Greenhouse
what the story was, they were going to Manila to visit family.
And they
But
brought their trash na with them.
Yes, because they
Yes.
saw our social media sites, and where the drop-off points. So.
So let's talk about the cost as well of these. If you want to build your house sustainably, is this cheaper than using traditional construction materials, or is it at par? Tell us about that.
At the moment, we would say it's at par.
Okay.
So these things, depending on the thickness, it comes in 10, 12, and 16 mm. So depending on the thickness, the price ranges. But it's at par with plywood.
Plywood. And we were talking earlier, and you guys said that this can take the place, yung panghulma,
Yes.
for buhos.
Yung
Yeah,
sa
the
construction.
board form. Yeah,
form.
correct.
What's the advantage of using this as
Okay,
compared?
well, the usual board form that they use would last you para 5 times, no? Now you can
Five
use it
buhos.
five buhos, no? Bunutin
Parang
mo
maalam
lang
ka
yun.
sa construction.
Yeah. So, but then this plastic boards can last you around 20 times. So,
And parang magaan siya, or dahil ba maliit lang?
Yeah.
May savings ka na doon if you're
Yes.
a contractor,
Correct.
for instance. Oo.
And then
Because
can
you-
that be recycled? So example, I
Yes.
use this, or Ces uses it to build something, and then she wants to recycle
yep.
the
It can be upcycled again. So you can give it back to us, and then we can just reprocess it into plastic boards
So
again.
this is the real parang circular economy,
Correct.
no?
Exactly.
Nothing goes to waste.
Yes.
Yes.
How much of these can you produce now? Like how much waste are you taking out of landfills? Is
Oo
there
nga.
like a
Let's
rough number?
listen
Okay.
to the numbers.
So let's say in one community, no, in a month, we're about 280 tons that we collect.
In a month?
In a month.
Give us an idea, 280 tons
Okay,
para
280 tons.
How
Okay.
heavy
You know how a
is
dump truck looks like?
Oh, ilang dump trucks yun?
So that's around 50 dump trucks
That's a lot.
In a month.
Per month.
in a month. In a month.
Okay.
So then
all waste.
we're able to recover around 4% of that.
Lang? What happens to the
Because,
rest?
you know, the program, we're still encouraging people to join the program because they have,
They
the
have to
residents,
do
they have
some
to bring,
processing.
yeah, they have to bring it to us. Take it out of the
So
residual
out
waste.
of the 50 dump trucks you collect, 4% lang ang nare-recover.
Yes.
The rest, what happens? You bring to the landfill.
Oh, no, some of them are being composted also.
The food waste is being,
Food waste is
food
being
and kitchen
composted.
Oh,
waste.
so you do composting as well?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, we do.
So the
We do.
composting we've been doing ever since RA 9003 has been implemented. So
That's
that's
a
where
while
it started. Yes, that's when it started, and then
2003.
slowly. 2003.
We started that composting.
Yeah.
Do you sell these or
Yeah, we sell them, we donate them to the barangays that we work with. They use it for their gardening and some of the programs that they donate back to for the urban gardens. Yeah.
so you use earthworms or how
No,
do you
we
how do you
use
compost it?
composting machines.
Machines. Yes.
We shred it and then we put it in composter drums that
That turn them around.
Yeah, for 24 hours.
How much volume of compost do you churn out?
That's around a ton.
That's like industrial level.
Yes, a ton per machine. So that's in 4 days. You have around 500 kilos of compost.
And actually tying into our service with Berdeng Calabao. So like we stated earlier, we have our collections in different villages and communities. So all of our programs are customizable and or customized, tailor fit really to what the community needs, what their sustainability goals are. So sometimes in turn of the recyclables, we give the compost back to them. So in turn,
In
yeah.
return.
Yeah.
Yeah.
May reward rin
Yes,
naman.
Yes.
So you're encouraging villages or communities, institutions, instead of, I guess, relying on the government collection.
No, in general, we are trying our best to encourage everyone from all walks of life. Because besides our actual service, like we said earlier, we're really trying to push the education because it really starts there. With the mission that we have, where like you stated earlier with the circular economy, that's something that we've been, we're actually excited about. Because like my dad said earlier, over 40 years we've been in this business. He's seen the landscape progress or, you know,
Regress.
not or regress, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But now actually we're doing better, but especially after the pandemic. Sorry, just to tie back to why Berdeng Calabao is where it is now. During the pandemic, the world stopped.
Yeah.
The waste didn't. If anything, it just grew.
The masks,
The
the face
Yes,
shields, the
everything.
PPE.
And like I was
packaging.
we were making kwento about it actually na, do you remember back to the times when we were wiping down every single grocery item that we had?
Yes.
So imagine just the waste that was coming out
And
from
online
that.
shopping.
Yes,
grew,
so
right?
our
Online shopping.
Yeah,
Parcels.
exactly.
Correct.
It only boomed in the pandemic.
And
so
the packaging
The
of these
packaging is
parcels are crazy.
exactly.
Because
Double,
people want it to
triple.
be bubble wrap.
So
So
going back,
bubble wrap can be sent to you guys.
Yes.
It's
So
part
much.
of the
yes, the boards you're
boards
holding.
are
so
part
made
of the
some-
boards.
yeah.
And going back, our crew,
yeah.
sorry, but our crew at that time during the pandemic, we were all considered frontliners because we were there on the ground, seeing everything that people, the consumer behavior changed over the pandemic, which is why with Baird and Calabao, we're really doing our best to start with the education because that's the only time our programs will work. Our mission will only be successful with the help of, you know, as much people as we can get.
What you're saying is like every one of us has
Yes.
to, actually we need to work on fixing our
And
kalat, our
consume
waste.
less.
Consume less
Yes,
because you have
yes,
to
correct.
clean it, you know,
Consume less.
wash it, dry it. There's also like a lot of effort involved on the individual.
Yeah.
I mean,
about
there's
government-
been a
okay,
race about consumerism, right?
Yes, yes.
And there was a spike of that during the pandemic.
Yes.
But I also wanted to ask about government support.
Yeah.
Has there been government support? Are you open to partnering with the government?
Yeah, we're open to partnering with anyone.
Anyone.
But
Wala pa ngayon, mga
Meron,
LGU.
meron.
We do.
Meron naman.
Ah,
Yeah,
meron?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We have
Hindi pa
LGUs.
ma-name?
Ah, we have some barangays around Metro Manila that works with us, and they really are into sustainable lifestyle already, practicing it,
Shifting the
segregation,
mindset,
shifting
yeah.
everyone.
Your service, I suppose, is a little more pricey than those who just collect
Yeah.
and throw in the landfill. Diba?
I'd
May
say,
mga ganon, pero malaking contracts yan with LGUs. I mean,
yeah, but we
millions, multi-million peso contracts.
might be, but yeah, because we have a different service. You know, we really show them that we don't bring it to the landfill. So it's
That with
we are
us-
diverting it, and then we have our own facility to process it.
Yeah.
So talagang wala kayong tinatapon sa landfill?
Oh no,
Zero?
not zero.
Yung mga
We
hindi
still have-
nag-segregate, di na nila
yung,
magagamit
yung mga
into
hindi
this.
nag-segregate, yung mga na-contaminate na items with food waste mixed with
Yung mga
recyclable
naghalo.
items. Yun yung hindi clean and dry.
So ilan yung porsyento? Malaki pa din.
Malaki pa din. Malaki pa din ang
Like
portion.
how? 80%?
Well,
But monthly we get.
yeah, maybe that's around 60%.
60%.
Yeah,
Well, at
yeah.
least.
Getting
Konti
there.
na
Yeah.
bawasan.
Little by little.
Little
Ah,
by
sige,
little.
parting shots from both of you. Let's start with the older generation.
Second gen and then
Okay.
third gen.
So, what do I say? Well, let's work together. We welcome everyone who would need help with their community. We have different programs for different communities. Just let us know. We'll be there. We'll teach you. We'll help you, and we'll guide you with everything about waste management.
And Nadine?
Nadine?
Yeah, so first of all, we want to thank you again for having us here because, you know, the platforms, we want to reach as much people as we can. So what we really want to remind everyone of today is that when you think of waste, we want you to think of Baird and Calabao. Because with us, really, no waste is wasted. Whatever we collect, you know, everything is ensured that it's going away from the landfill and it's going to sustainable endpoints. And you're helping the earth and you're helping mankind, really. I know it's, you know, like we were saying earlier, na we kind of want to consume less. But we try to detach the guilt from how we consume because it's really so hard with the way that we live now.
Yep.
So what we try to do really through our education is that when you consume, you just have to be aware of how you dispose or how you
Think of
leave.
it muna. Think
Yes.
of it.
Yes.
Anong
Yes.
gagawin ko dito
Yes,
sa binili
yes.
kong
Yes.
to?
Kung ganun
Correct.
ako,
So hard to-
tatapon ko na naman tong straw. Kung ganun.
If you dry it, it will be considered recyclable. See, just one step, one added step. It all starts with the segregation, actually.
Yes.
What we teach the kids, so we work with a lot of schools. When I'm talking to younger crowds, I always tell them the word segregate sounds a lot like the word separate. So when you're having a hard time, just think, is this thing wet or dry? If it's dry, then maybe we can use it for something else.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
Okay. Dry
Again,
waste.
yes, but
All
with
right.
Baird and Calabao, really
Clean
no
and
waste
dry.
is wasted.
Thank you. Thank you, Donnie and Nadine, the father and daughter team behind Berdeng Calabao.
Right, well, before we go, Japanese clothing brand Uniqlo is expanding its reach. The first roadside store in Sierra Valley, Rizal, is designed for accessibility and convenience, bringing lifewear closer to residents in the area. Let's take a closer look at that.
The
summer season is fast approaching, and if you're already feeling the summer heat, better be prepared, especially with your outfits. Now, whether it's for a summer look or a perfect fit to combat the heat, Uniqlo always has something to offer. So come, let's take a look inside their newest roadside store here at Sierra Valley. So now we're joined by the Chief Operating Officer of Uniqlo Philippines, Geraldine Sia. Hi, Jerry.
Hello, how are you?
All right, so we're here at the all-new roadside store of Uniqlo Philippines at Sierra Valley. But first, tell us, what is a roadside store and how is it different from Uniqlo's traditional stores?
Thank you, Pauline. Unlike Uniqlo stores found in the malls, a Uniqlo roadside store is a standalone facility designed for a more accessible and convenient shopping experience. A roadside store offers a wide range of Uniqlo lifewear apparel, making it a one-stop shop stylish and functional clothing.
So it does provide a one-stop shopping experience for customers, but what makes a roadside store unique?
With accessibility and convenience in mind, our roadside stores offer their own parking, PWD-friendly features, and click-and-collect services, truly making it the go-to-way experience lifewear. We have roadside store in Alabang Westgate, Markinton Marikina, Blue Bay Pasay, and New Valley Laguna. And recently, we just opened the Uniqlo Sierra Valley roadside here in the Rizal area. Beyond the roadside staple feature, the Uniqlo roadside Sierra Valley store also features a new design, giving it a fresh and distinctive look.
All right, so why did you decide to open a store here in Sierra Valley?
Sierra Valley is a growing area that offer a developing community, which we feel that locals will love the convenience in shopping. We also aim to introduce lifewear to people in the Rizal area and their surroundings. Aside from that, it is also the ideal location because it is located along the Ortigas Avenue extension, which is ideal for the on-the-go shoppers.
There you go. So your customers don't have to travel really far to shop their lifewear at Uniqlo Philippines. Okay, so let's talk about expansion plans. But beyond your roadside store here at Sierra Valley, what else are the plans for Uniqlo Philippines? More roadside stores?
Yes, we have always strived to make Uniqlo more accessible to Filipino people. We take pride in sharing stylish and functional clothing to local communities across the country who find great value in the items we offer. Apart from Sierra Valley, we also have an upcoming store in Imus, Cavite, set to open this April. People can expect the same level of excellence and service that they have come to expect from the Uniqlo brand. Beyond this, we also aim sharing the gift of lifewear to all other local communities in the years to come.
And of course, Jerry, summer is right around the corner. Tell us about your summer offerings and how is Uniqlo adapting to countries that are tropical, such as the Philippines?
Right, thank you for that. We offer a lot of lineups of summer collection, which includes the linen collection, sport utility wear, airism, as well as bra top. These are all available across all stores of Uniqlo in the Philippines.
And finally, what is your message to all the loyal customers of Uniqlo Philippines?
Thank you for having me today. On behalf of the Uniqlo team, thank you for your continued support. We hope that you continue to visit our Uniqlo roadside stores across the Philippines and experience the convenience and accessibility that goes hand in hand with lifewear.
So that's where you went.
Yes, what did you get for yourself?
I went a little bit of shopping, but I'm still mindful because, consumerism, you have to be aware now with the things you buy.
That's true. And did you get a bag? Because you have to pay for the shopping bag in Uniqlo.
No, hindi na.
Hindi na.
Oo.
Diba?
Bubuhakan ko na lang.
All right, so that's our piece of advice. Always bring a metal straw, an eco bag. Yeah. But that's it for the big story tonight.
Tier 1 News, all sides, all the time.
Thank you for watching. Good night.